Hello. Today we will go for prose lesson, The Grammar of Anarchy by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. As you all aware, when you go to when you look into the India's independence movement, right from the year 1857, which is treated as first war of independence for India, to 1947. That means 90 long years we struggled for independence. And before that, many of the Indians were struggled under the British rule. So, with all sacrifices of the people, the great struggle and all that, we got independence. And soon after the independence, a constitutional committee was drafted, and Dr. Ambedkar was the chairman of the committee. And the committee studied wide. Taking the constitutions of the best of the constitutions of the world, and they had a very good idea about India and its people. So what the Indians really want to have, what kind of freedom they should exercise, and what kind of government they should have. So after careful considerations of several other constitutions and the needs of India, beautiful constitution was drafted for the welfare of the people. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, as the chairperson of the Constitution Committee, has submitted his report. So this present selection is from his own speech, which was delivered on November 25th of 1949. And that is the final draft, concluding session. And later in 26th January 1950, India became a republic. So he expressed certain doubts whether the democracy in India will be continued for a very longer time, and what are the dangers for it, and how one can overcome that. So he warned the Indians about the dangers of democracy, and as well as he has suggested the way to proceed and preserve democracy for India and also its independence. So this is the content of the lesson, The Grammar of Anarchy. So let me share my screen. So let us have some introduction about the writer, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Of course, every one of us know more about Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, but a few necessary things have given here. So he lived during 1891 to 1956, and he is the chief architect of the Indian Constitution. Born in Moa, Madhya Pradesh state, and he hails from untouchable community, as he experienced a trauma of seclusion and discrimination. So he has a very good idea about the problems of downtrodden in India and untouchables in India. So he went to Columbia University, New York for his education. He did masters on caste system and a doctoral thesis on British finance in India, and later returned back, and he is considered as a great social reformer, and he all the time fought for the rights of the deprived sections. And so keeping that in the mind, in the constitution several provisions were made for them. And as a chairman of drafting committee of the constitution, this beautiful constitution for India was prepared. And for all his services posthumously, he was awarded the most India's most coveted highest civilian award, Bharat Ratna, in the year 1991. So this is these are some credits for Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and moreover, he is in the hearts of the people because of the beautiful constitution he has given to the nation. So with this introduction, we will go what exactly Ambedkar was doubting about and warning us, and the dangers he was talking about. So the speech is all about, it is an extract from Dr. Ambedkar's closing speech in the Constitution Assembly on November 25th of 1949. So it speaks about the diversity of India, and the challenges of implementing the constitution and the need to build a nation. So he also talks about what is the need for building the nation and about the roadmap and the three advices he has given. Number one is avoiding hero worship, work towards social democracy, and continue to be relevant. So, as diversity of India, since India is has more the caste and also different people come from different communities, and making them united and feeling all of them as one nation is a big challenging task. And implementing the constitution is a very difficult task in India unless and until people work for their country. So that way, what are the challenges in implementing constitution he talked about, and see how what is the need for building a nation, because all these years before independence, the only job for Indians was to fight against the British and make them responsible for every difficulty. But once India got independence, now it is time to build the nation, and whatever we have lost, we have to recover soon. And whatever we are aspiring for a golden India, that should happen. So, in order to make build great India, so everybody has to work a lot. So, there is a need for building the nation, and I also asked us to go for a roadmap. So, how are we going to build a great India, keeping its independence and following the democratic ways and all. So three advices he has given, that is avoiding hero worship, because hero worship is very common in Indian politics in India. People have great reverence for their own leaders. So there are some dangers if you have just a blind hero worship. So what are the dangers and how we can avoid it and all, he talked in the lesson. And work towards social democracy. What is the need to work towards the democracy? So mere having democracy in the country is not enough, but to uphold that democracy, follow the right principles is very, very important in order to keep up the democratic setup. And see how to be continue to be relevant, because things are changing year by year. See day after day, on several changes have come in the will be coming in the lives of the people and in the future of the country. So how to get prepared and how to make oneself relevant, how to make the things are our own constitution more relevant even in the changing time. So these are all the things he talked about. So the first one is he expressed the doubt that will India maintain independence or will lose it again. That's a big question he has posed. So it has made him anxious about the future of the country, because with a lot of struggle we achieved independence for our country. So if we lose independence, then if we can't maintain it properly, what will be the danger? Again, we have to face several hardships that we have already undergone during the British period. So, how to keep up independence is a big challenge and task before us. So, without losing it. So, lost independence in the past also because of the infidelity and the treachery of some people. India was a vast country earlier, having great wealth and all, but because of the treachery, infidelity, so we deceived one another, and because of the British plan and all that, so we deceived one another. So that way, we lost our independence. So if suppose if that happens again, then there will be a danger for the independence. As we all aware that because of this deceiving one another has brought us down. So he wants again that let us not practice the same old practices, so that there are chances of losing independence again. So the what are the old enemies that India has is nothing but the caste and creed. In India, the entire society was built up on several caste and creed system. So this caste and creed system has created a kind of levels in the people. So that way, there are more differences in caste and creed. So as long as the differences are there, as long as the people are being bifurcated on the basis of their caste and creed, then certainly there is a danger for independence. So these are our old enemies with which we have lost our independence and lost our democratic setup. So that way, he is once again asking us to get away from these old enemies called caste and creed. So whether we can maintain independence or whether we may lose it, because we have these two reasons. One is treachery and infidelity that we have shown earlier. Because of that, we lost independence. So that way, whether we can see still continue them or whether we have to stop it. And we have the old enemies like caste and creed. So get away from caste and creed differences so that we can uphold independence. And if creed above our country, then India's independence is in jeopardy. That means is in danger. So if creed, see, if you are talking about the community that you belong to, and if your community is more important than the country, then what will happen? Naturally, we will deceive one another, we will fight one another, and see soon our independence is lost. So as long as you give importance for the country, the independence will not be guaranteed. So give see importance for your country. Your country is greater than your caste and creed, then independence is secure. So as long as you are very much see connected with the caste and creed, the blind following of that, and having a see great affinity towards it, which can cause the hinder the progress of the country, and which may also have a threatening impact on the independence, then independence will be in danger. And defend with the last drop of our blood. Let us all see strive together and see keep our country at the highest, and keep the country is more important than your caste and creed. And see, let us not deceive one another. Infidelity and treachery has no place now in the independent India. So if we keep up them, then certainly we can see we should strive. If certain situations arise, we must strive see for the last drop to the last drop of our blood in preserving the independence of country. So here he talks about the need for independence. So why should we see maintain independence? So whatever the dangers earlier, because of treachery and infidelity, we started deceiving one another and we became prey to the foreigners. That means the Britishers, isn't it? So that way all our energies were lost and we are being divided and she underwent several hardships for years together, centuries together. So if that should not happen, let us not continue that old habit. And we have the old enemies called caste and creed. Let us be away from them. And country is more important than caste and creed. As long as we keep countries see well the progress, our country's safety as our own prime responsibility, as our own prime job, then certainly we can keep up the independence. Otherwise, independence will be in danger. So all Indians should strive to the last drop to keep up the country united. So that way we can see continue the independence and there will not be any threat. So he offered the solution, and at the same time he posed certain challenges. And looking back into the history, what we did, and also what are our habits, and how are we going to preserve independence. So this way there is a question and there is a solution also. So he said on 26th January 1950, India would become democratic country. So what is democracy? Democracy is nothing but government is formed by the people. See, it is the government of the people, and the government which is made by the people and which is of the people will serve for the people. So it is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That means it is a government of it's a people's government. And see, it is elected by the people and it works for the people. So this is the true democracy. So if anything goes wrong anywhere, then certainly our democracy will be in danger. So the second thought he has entertained for some time is that will maintain a democratic constitution or not, whether Indians or India will maintain democratic constitution or not. So he got a doubt. So whether we can maintain democracy or not. Earlier, he asked us a question about the maintaining of independence. So he offered the solutions. Now we have prepared a beautiful constitution, but whether this beautiful constitution or democratic setup, can we maintain it, or see, we may not. So what are the challenges in it? So when you look back to our own history, so there is a democratic practices were there even in the earlier times. So even if you take up republics and monarchies were elected, so there was an election process of selecting their own or electing their own leaders. So like in the monarchies also we will find, and knows parliamentary procedures. Even our ancestors knew their parliamentary procedures, how to go about. So even if you look at the Buddhist bhikshu sanghas, see, they follow the parliamentary procedures, but they can we can see the parliaments there. So that way, see, even in our earlier traditions, in our old procedures also, we have this, whether it is the republics and monarchs being elected, see our Buddhist bhikshu sanghas and all that. People see followed the parliamentary procedures. So democracy is not new to us, but only thing is how whether we can see can maintain that democracy say, or not is a question now in the changing times. So he said, danger of democracy giving place to dictatorship. Suppose what is the danger for democracy? Suppose if democracy is not followed, is not maintained, then ultimately it lead to dictatorship. As we have all seen the entire world, see what are the dangers posed by the dictatorship and what happened to the nations and their people. So that way, if we are unable to see follow the democracy or democratic procedures, then there will be dangers for there may be a danger that we may undergo the dictatorship. So if we wish to maintain democracy, not merely in form but also in fact, so we may have see democratic setup system in India, but if we don't follow them, so if it is in the form is of no use. But in fact, if you are following them, certainly democracy will give you the benefits. So we must first of all hold constitutional methods and social economic objectives. That means how can we see preserve the democracy? See, we preserve democracy by following the constitutional methods. See, and in all in social and economic objectives. So, what are the social and economic objectives? So, if you look at the social objectives of our constitution or our uh, great India, the social objectives are for the welfare of the people. All are equal, and everybody should have the right for education, right for speech, and all that. So whatever rights are guaranteed in the constitution for all sections of the people, whether they are say from the higher sections or the lower sections or underprivileged sections, everybody has equal rights and also equal responsibilities. That means to gain the social say objectives to fulfill the social objectives, we need to follow the constitutional methods and even the economical objectives, because the always there is a gap between the haves and have nots. That means the difference between the rich and poor. So the gap between the rich and poor should go, otherwise social justice will not happen. And if there is no social justice, naturally revolutions will take place and people will be under unrest. So naturally there will be a great threat for the democracy. So the democracy that we have is only for the betterment of the people. So whatever see wealth is there should be see enjoyed by each and everybody. There should not be economical differences between the sections. Of course, India was divided into fragments based on their economic status and all. So there were the many sections were underprivileged. They were in underprivileged group. So by attaining the economic progress, so everybody should come to the equality. So we have social objectives and we have economical objectives. And whether it is social or economic objective or constitutional methods are to be adopted. That means abandon the bloody methods of revolution. So earlier was the only thing with we had with the Britishers are with the only to fight. Some see went in a different way, and people under Gandhi's influence have taken up the see procedures called non-violence procedures and all that. So that way, earlier before independence, our job was to fight against the British. So we have discovered several varieties of see expressing our anger or expressing our resentment to the British government. So in the form of civil disobedience and in the form of non-cooperation movement or satyagraha and all that we did for the sake of getting the independence to our country. But they are no longer are suitable in the the present scenario, because constitution is there, and we have made the government is made of the people, and it was prepared for the people, it is of the people. So naturally there will not be any scope for such things. So whatever things that we have followed earlier may be good, but see, once we have got the democracy, so all these methods are not suitable, and these methods are nothing but a grammar of anarchy. They should be abandoned. So let us not give scope for any civil disobedience, non-cooperation, satyagraha and all that, because there is a no need. There is no need to do them. Our constitution has guaranteed the rights for the people. When people's rights were exploited, then there was a danger. So now even certain cases may arise because of the the difficulties in implementation of the democratic setup. So but even then, but let us not see resort to such kind of things. And we have the most we have the democratic methods to follow, so that there will not be any danger for our democracy as well as for our see independence. So for democracy to maintain in real fact, so what should be needed? We should avoid civil disobedience, non-cooperation, satyagraha, and also revolutionary methods. So we should hold up the social and economic objectives. So if we can work for social and economic objectives, the differences between the people will go, then certainly there will not be any see, scope for go and resorting to the see these three methods of see the grammar of anarchy. Second thing he said about the Indian constitution and democratic setup is John Stuart Mill said, lay their liberties at the feet of see great people. So usually what happens when there is a great leader and the people see give up their liberties at the feet of that great leader, see they worship him a lot, and they treat him as their Raja, and they treat him as their everything, their boss and all. So naturally, people are surrendering their power and their liberties at the feet of their own see leader. So this should not happen. This is an old practice, but in democratic setup, that is not necessary. If we follow that procedure in the democratic setup, certainly there is a danger for democracy. That's what Ambedkar want to say. Nothing wrong being grateful. There is nothing wrong being grateful to your leader because of his sacrifices, the amount of time he has spent, and the commitment that he has for the welfare of the people. Certainly there is nothing wrong being grateful to your leader, but there are certain limits to that gratefulness. That means your liberty should not be put at the feet of the leader. So liberty should be enjoyed, independence should be enjoyed. At the same time, you should have a you may have a reference, sorry, reverence for your the leader. But that does not mean that you are foregoing your liberty and independence at his feet. So that will be a great danger for the country. Because of that particular that attitude, we suffered a lot in the earlier years, and that way we have lost our independence and became slaves to the British government. So bhakti movement, we all knew that bhakti is nothing but hero worship in politics. But bhakti in religion is what? Bhakti in religion is a kind of road to salvation. How to see get salvation from this life cycle. So if you follow the bhakti procedure, then definitely you are going to get the salvation. So this is the religious aspect. But in say politics, and if the bhakti is not is if it is a hero worship in politics, is a great danger. In politics, road to degradation and eventual dictatorship. So if you blindly follow and follow your leader, see, you have a great reverence for him, you are so grateful, and you have put all your liberty and all your see democratic things at the feet of them, then naturally you will be degraded, and eventually the dictatorship will take place. So this is a great danger. So Indians have the habit of see hero worship, and that is good in bhakti. In personal lives, that may be good. It's not, there is nothing wrong being grateful to your leader, but they should have some limitations. That means there should be some limits. In limits, if you express your gratitude to your leader, that is okay. But if you blindly have a hero worship attitude as you exhibited in the previous years, that means in the previous decades, then certainly your liberty is lost, and your democracy will be in danger. So this should be avoided, because there is a danger that so the dictatorship may come up in future. So this is a warning sign he has given. So the third thing is talked about is not to be content with mere political democracy and social democracy. So what you call not to be content with mere political democracy. Political democracy is what? Getting vote for everyone. That means everyone has a right to vote, and that means by voting can select his own leader. So the political democracy is being followed. There won't be any difficulty. But only thing is, in order to get the social democracy, so it is very important to preserve social democracy. So the social democracy is way of life recognizes liberty, equality, fraternity as the principles of life. So what is important in democratic setup is the liberty, equality, and fraternity. So these are the three important principles which can uphold the democracy. So they are not separate in a trinity. So they are a combination of these three, like a trinity. The liberty, equality, and fraternity are interconnected, like in a triangle. So you cannot expect one with the other. So if you have liberty but there is no equality and fraternity, it is not going to fulfill. You have liberty, equality, but no fraternity, again is dangerous. So these three are complementary, and all three of them are necessary, and we may not forego one for some reason or the other. So if there is imbalance in these three of them, and if you are missing one of them, is a great danger. So without equality, liberty will produce supremacy of the new. If there is no equality in see action, then liberty, that means your freedom, will produce the supremacy of the few. So there is a great danger that a hero worship may take place, and only some people may show their supremacy. So that is again a danger, as we have just talked about. And without fraternity, again, so equality without liberty will kill individual initiative. So without liberty, if you are not giving liberty but saying that everybody is equal, so what is the danger? The danger is you are killing the individual initiative. So individuals will never venture forward, and they cannot take up. So what you are doing is you are killing individuals initiative. So that way, equality without liberty is not possible. Without fraternity, liberty and equality will be of no use. That means without see following see or see, observing the fraternity, then liberty and equality is of no use. So that way, liberty, equality, and fraternity are the three important principles in keep of political and social democracy. And so we have to keep up them and give equal importance for all the three. All three are necessary: liberty, equality, and fraternity. Equality without liberty is going to be say hero worship, and there is a danger for dictatorship. Equality without liberty will kill individual initiative. Without fraternity, liberty, and equality will be upheld. So all these three are very, very important to uphold a democracy. So he is asking us to give importance for liberty, equality, and fraternity so that we can maintain our democracy well. Then if you go for going to enter a life of contradiction, so he said that he has warned, Dr. Ambedkar warned that we are entering into a contradictory things, the life of contradictions. What is the contradictory one? In politics, equality is attainable because everybody will get an opportunity to vote. That means to select their leader. So here there won't be any problem. But in attaining social and economic life, inequality is already there because of the caste and creed system. This system, as long as these systems, caste and creed are there, are going to play a very vital role in social and economic equality. So then there will be a danger. So these inequalities are already there. With all these contradictions, so still we are asking for the democracy. Still we are seeking for democracy. So how long shall we continue the life of contradictions? The life is full of contradictions. At one point, at political setup, we say everybody is equal and everybody gets a voting right, and that is absurd. But at the social and economic front, so inequality is there, and attaining equality is very, very challenging because of people are bifurcated on caste and on creed and all that. So attaining equality is a big task. And if equality is not attained in social and economic life, then there is a great danger for our democracy. Mere having the political democracy is not enough. So that way, the life of contradictions we are seeing. So how long shall we continue the life of contradictions? So if you continue the same, that means social economic inequality, if you are continuing and only showing equality in politics, then your democracy is in danger. In peril means in danger. So your democracy will be in danger if you don't follow the social and economic equality. As long as there is inequality in social and economic life, the democracy will be in danger. So what is the solution? Remove these contradictions at the earliest. So see, remove the contradictions. There is what is where is the contradiction? The contradiction is here. Political democracy, political equality, everybody choosing the leader, everybody is getting. But only the thing is social and economic life inequality is already there, and people are not ready to go for it. And if they don't sacrifice for the sake of their country, and don't have this mind of keeping up the democracy and having the equality among social and economic life, then as long as these contradictions are there, as long as we continue these contradictions, we are succumb to these contradictions, and certainly the democracy will be in danger. So that way he advised all of us to remove the contradictions as early as possible. He can't say that it may happen in a day or two, but the sooner the better. The sooner that these differences in social and economic life will go away, then certainly democracy equality is attained, and so democratic principles can be followed, then democracy will be out of danger. So then what is fraternity? Fraternity is nothing but a sense of common brotherhood. As one being one people, that means as one being one people all belong to one nation. So that way, if all the sense of brotherhood, a common brotherhood, if they get, then certainly there will be there are many advantages, and your freedom and democracy is guaranteed. So for example, it gives unity and solidarity to social life. The people of India preferred expression than the Indian nation. So the people of India and the Indian nation. So if you say the people of India is a preferred expression than the Indian nation, because they should realize this goal of a nation. So here nation is very important. So castes are antisocial and generally generate jealousy and antipathy between castes. So if India is divided into caste, and if you still see follow the caste and creed system, and then there is a danger for democracy, as said earlier, and they may generate jealousy and also antipathy between castes. That way, a lot of differences still if we are upholding between the caste, and then India is as long as under the caste system and creed system, they may become antisocial, and see keeping up the independence and following the democracy will be a great challenging task. As long as people feel that they are all belong to one nation, and if they have the sense of fraternity, that means they all belong to one country and they are only one country. If they get that feeling, then certainly fraternity see will definitely keep up the democracy in the country, keep up the independence in the country. So this is difficult to achieve in the current context, but in the current situations. But Dr. Ambedkar appealed that let us get away from the see old habits of the caste, and let us not the country should be divided. See, they should not become antisocial, and which may result in jealousy, antipathy between caste and all that. So that is a great danger for India's democracy and also for the independence. So fraternity can be a fact only when there is a nation. So fraternity is achieved only people of India will feel that they are as a one nation. So if we all are one nation, then certainly we may forget about the differences between caste and creed. So fraternity is a goal to achieve by keeping by thinking that we are all belong to one particular country, and the country is more important than all other things. Country is more important than the caste and creed. So if that is practiced, then we can get away from the dangers of democracy. So it is liberty and equality and fraternity. All these three things must be followed in order to keep up our constitution. Then the political power. See, if you look at the political power, it is nothing but the monopoly of a few. So if we, as long as people are divided on caste, creed, and as long as see they just can only exercise the voting based on the caste, based on the creed, based on the hero worship, then monopoly will prevail. So once monopoly prevails, then there should not be there will not be say democracy at all. So downtrodden classes are tired of being governed and impatient to govern themselves also. So they are tired of being governed because all the time they were the victims in the hands of the Rajas or the kings, and also in the hands of the Britishers. So they were very much tired of it, and they are impatient to govern themselves. Even if you ask them to govern themselves, they are not they are not patient enough. They are impatient because all their energies were exhausted. So they no longer want to be governed by somebody else, and they don't have patience to govern themselves. So this is the current trend. So urge for so he urges for self-realization. What is self-realization? That means that should not result as class struggle. It would be a day of disaster. So if self-realization is based on the class struggle, then certainly if the nation is divided on caste, so there is a day of disaster. So let us not expect that a day of disaster. So as soon as possible, see get away from the class and creed system, so that even the political power will not become monopoly. So Abraham Lincoln said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand alone." So if the house is here, the parliament or the people of government of the people, if it is divided against itself, cannot stand long. That means if it is divided on caste and creed, it cannot stand for a very long time. That means it should all see people of the house should feel that they are working for their country. They all belong to one particular country. So as long as this idea is there, then the democracy will be successful. So establishment of equality and fraternity in all spheres of life. So what the solution for this is establishment of equality and fraternity in all spheres of life. Not only in politics, but in social and economic aspects also, we should see that the equality and fraternity should be established. So he said, independence is a matter of joy. So everybody loves independence. So we need to enjoy that independence. But at the same time, independence has brought great responsibility on all of us. That means on all Indians. That means getting independence is very challenging, very difficult, and after several sacrifices, we got independence. But as soon as we become independent in the year 1947, the great responsibility, it has offered great responsibilities. Our only job before independence only was to fight against the British. Now it is time to work and build great nation. So it offers us great responsibilities. So there are several inequalities in the communities, in the country. So all those inequalities should go, and the people see follow fraternity, liberty, and uh, see all those three principles one need to follow, and political and even social and economic see spheres, democracy must be practiced. So that way, several responsibilities are there with the Indians now. Earlier, our job was to blame British. So for every reason, for everything, we have blamed the British because for their rule over hundreds of years in India has made us slaves, and they have taken away all our wealth and all that. So our job was only to blame the British. But how can we blame ourselves after becoming independent? So that means people should have great responsibilities in order to keep up their independence and also to follow the democracy. Then only the fruits of independence and democracy be enjoyed by the people. And he warned that times are fast changing, so one need to change, and probably in the years to come, the government by the people and government for the people. See, there are a lot of changes. So the government of the people, for the people, by the people should be our motto. That is only the principle of our own democratic setup. So democracy means the government of the people, for the people, and by the people, but not government by the people. That means government for the people. Oh, see, out of these two, government by the people, see, is very see will offer challenges. So it should be government of the people. So, and government for the people and by the people. Then only we truly uphold the principles of democracy. So Ambedkar here in this speech posed several challenges that are there for keeping up our independence and democracy, and see what are the solutions also he has offered, and we need to change our old thinking pattern and old ways of things living. So we need to see practice all such things according to the current context, and so that our democracy and independence will be out of danger, and we can entertain and we can enjoy the fruits of the democracy, for the fruits of independence. So this is all he talked about. So with this, we will end the lesson. Thank you very much.